guys, we have a fun review today as we're discussing Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Pretty much by this point we're capping off 2023, and what a better way to cap off the year than with a sci-fi epic from Zack Snyder that I was pretty excited about. I was intrigued on how he tackled creating something new within this genre. When a peaceful settlement on the edge of a distant moon finds itself threatened by the armies of a tyrannical ruling force, a mysterious stranger living among its villagers becomes their best hope for survival. Of course, by now, many of us are well aware of the fact that Zack Snyder is a fairly polarizing filmmaker. Anytime he drops a film, there are rabid debates online about it, and I'm sure you're going to be seeing those same exact type of reactions once Rebel Moon comes out. As for me, I usually enjoy Zack Snyder's work. I don't love everything, but I like the majority of it. When it comes to Part 1, A Child of Fire, while not without some flaws, Rebel Moon does show a ton of genuine promise in developing this grand new sci-fi universe to explore. As much as I love the classic sci-fi and fantasy, it always is really exciting to delve into new sci-fi, and Rebel Moon ambitiously lays down a lot of rich mythology to explore, many different characters, worlds, weaponry, drawing you in wanting to learn more about this story. Not everything is completely fleshed out by the film's end, considering this is a part 1 after all, but I would say I found myself invested in several of these characters' journeys as we lead into part 2. One of the big things I loved overall about Rebel Moon is the amazing ensemble cast assembled. There are quite a lot of different characters, and for the most part, I thought all of them were pretty solid. Several of them did stand out a little bit more to me personally. I think the biggest star by far is Sofia Boutella, who is the lead of Rebel Moon. Sofia Boutella, I've always found her to be such a great actress, although she's usually played these supporting characters, whether it's Atomic Blonde or Kingsman, and we're gonna act like the mummy didn't happen. I found her character and her backstory so fascinating, and that's on top of just the plethora of badass moments she has. Outside of her, there were a lot of fun additions to this cast. Charlie Hunnam was great. I'm always a big fan of Djimon Hounsou in films. Unfortunately, his role in this is very small, but I think maybe we'll see a little bit more of him in the next film. Also, it's just a delight to see Ray Fisher once again on screen. And his character in this is so badass. A lot of the characters in the movie, to be fair, are badass, but he was one of the ones that stood out to me. The character that I fell in love with quite a lot was Jimmy, voiced by the brilliant, legendary Anthony Hopkins. I haven't looked into too much of the Rebel Moon merch yet, but I'm definitely going to probably look into some Jimmy stuff. And as for villainous characters go, Ed Skrein plays yet another great villain in this. Even though it isn't a huge rollout into theaters, I am glad that it's going to be shown to some degree in theaters. I think it will be a much better viewing experience because the visuals in Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire are fantastic. Some of the best VFX work that I've seen this year, and it warrants seeing on the biggest screen possible. There are so many sequences in this movie that are just absolutely gorgeous, which is the usual with Zack Snyder, who actually is the cinematographer in the movie as well. So many points in this movie, I just was in awe of what I was seeing unfold on screen. Sequence after sequence of breathtaking visuals and tons of badass action sequences. His style of filmmaking, I think, is enhanced by this sci-fi fantasy aesthetic. Considering at one point in time the idea for this movie was a Star Wars film, that influence here is clear. But it does so many things in this that are a lot more intriguing and exciting compared to a lot of the more modern day Star Wars stuff. I must admit, even though I am a longtime fan of Zack Snyder, I do think he does go a little bit overboard with the slow motion and the action sequences. You're probably used to it if you're a big Zack Snyder fan, but personally, I think it is a little bit excessive in Rebel Moon. Sure, a handful of times it is pretty badass, but it's just a lot. There's just a lot of slow-mo in this movie, and sometimes it does kind of hinder the experience. I will say, though, the third act of Rebel Moon, the last 30-45 minutes or so, mind-blowing action spectacle. Some of the coolest moments of any movie I've seen this year that'll really surprise you. In the best of ways, I feel like Zack Snyder took the greatest elements out of several films, like Seven Samurai, Star Wars, of course, even a little bit of movies like Gladiator. The best of those elements all together in one movie, and you have Rebel Moon. This should come as no surprise to anyone that follows Junkie XL. The score here in Part 1, A Child of Fire, it literally is fire. This score is phenomenal. I'm going to be listening to so many tracks from this movie non-stop because it's just that good. But this is a Part 1, and because of that, its ambition at times does get the better of them with how it tells its story, as it is trying to cram in a whole lot of stuff in that first act, getting the team of rebels assembled. Because of that, it does take its time as far as finding its footing. And on the flip side, there are other other arcs that we go on in the movie that needed a little bit more time to breathe. I'm aware that Zack Snyder is putting together a director's cut of the film, so possibly that could be worked out better in that director's cut, but I didn't see the director's cut, so I'm just basing my thoughts on the version I watched. All in all, Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, lays an exciting framework for a new sci-fi universe to explore. Zack Snyder's signature style surely will satisfy longtime fans craving more of his style of action and visual spectacle. It does have a few kinks to work out to make this a new sci-fi franchise. It leaves off on a really great cliffhanger to go into Part 2. It seems like there's going to be a lot of different tie-ins to set up this universe, and for right now at least, I definitely want to see where it goes. But once you get a chance to see Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, make sure you share your thoughts down below. How did you feel about the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Share your thoughts down below. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, see you guys later.